Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. So, my name is Raingert Legolas Pindihito, and I will be your reporter. And in this video, there are two things that we are going to discuss. It's why middle age is considered a social construct, and second, we are going to differentiate fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence. So, what is middle age? Let's define middle age. Consider a 50-year-old person who feels energetic, and healthy, and engaged in their career and family life, despite being chronologically in middle age. They may not perceive themselves as middle aged due to their positive outlook and active lifestyle. This illustrates how middle age is a social construct, influenced by individual experiences, cultural norms, and personal attitudes. There are a lot of factors that we can consider why middle age is a social construct. First, let's talk about physical changes. Although some physiological changes are direct results of biological aging and genetic makeup, behavioral and lifestyle factors dating from youth can affect the likelihood, timing, and extent of physical change in the middle adulthood. Example, a 45-year-old lalaki or 45-year-old man notices that he needs eyeglasses para makabasa sa, let's say, small print, gikan sa libro or some newspaper. Diba? Hilig na nila. A change from his younger when he didn't need any visual aids. This shift in sensory functioning, specifically presbyopia, kani siya murag age-related sa pag-decline sa imong vision, kumbaga na. It is a common physical change in middle adulthood. Such changes can be influenced by lifestyle. Example, prolonged screen time. Sobrang screen time, kung sobrang screen time, it can affect you also physically. So that is one of the examples of presbyopia. And genetics also, but are also natural part of aging. What we are going to talk about is sensory functioning. From young adulthood through the middle years, sensory and motor changes are almost imperceptible. So meaning, dili na siya yung noticeable kaayo, babahagya, kumbaga, in Tagalog. Until one day, a 45-year-old man realizes that he cannot read a book without eyeglasses. Or a 60-year-old woman has to admit that she is not quick on her feet as she was. So we must remember that during middle age, sensory functions such as vision and hearing begin to decline due to biological aging and lifestyle factors. Here are some examples of sensory, the two mentioned examples of sensory function, and these are the changes and influences as they age. First is the vision. As I've said in the previous topic, I said in the physical changes, they could adapt or develop presbyopia, which is difficulty in seeing near objects, reduced night vision, increased sensitivity to glare. And the influences are age, UV exposure, eye, and eye health habits. So, ang isa sa mga influences or mga apekto na is for example, too much screen time. Especially kung nagkaedad na ka, mas dali mo develop ang presbyopia sa imuha. Second is hearing or presbycusis, loss of high frequency sounds. Isa sa mga influences dani is age or let's say loud noise exposure. So as we age, kabantay mo di nataganahan og banha, di nataganahan kayo og kanang ma-expose sa mga banha kayong surroundings or environment. Isa sa mga dalang og sudlay. Isa sa mga maapektuhan dana is imong maapektuhan to ang imong hearing dana. Okay, so next is physical fitness. Staying physically active has wide-ranging positive effects on almost every body system. Okay, so example, may bae, taga na tog name, let's say Anna or something. She's a 45-year-old office worker. Marag weird man po siguro no, tiguang Anna. pangalan to kuan Linda. She used to be active in some physical activities, let's say swimming and cycling, but now sits only for 8 hours daily. Notices fatigue even after short walks. So after health checkup, Linda learns she has elevated blood pressure and early signs of diabetes. And then after that, after discovering about health, maybe nag-worry siya, she starts a 30-minute daily walk and resistance training. And after 3 months, she notices some improvements. Her energy levels increase, blood pressure decreases, and blood sugar levels stabilize. Ang blood sugar, di siya maayo kung taas ra, di ko siya maayo kung ubos ra. Kung ubos ra, it's called hypoglycemia, if I'm not mistaken. Kailangan balance ko na siya, equal ko na siya. And here, the physical fitness refers to your body's ability to perform daily tasks and recreational activities without fatigue. It significantly impacts various body systems, enhancing function and overall health. Here's a quick comparison. So some example of your body system, like let's say cardiovascular and respiratory and musculoskeletal. First, let's talk about the cardiovascular and the benefits of being fit. You will have a stronger heart, better blood flow, and the consequences of being unfit or unfit. Then you could develop higher risk of heart disease or stroke. And next is respiratory. What are the benefits of being fit? Benefits sa imong respiratory system: efficient oxygen intake, so di ka maglisod og ginhawa. As we age, uban maka-notice nga murag maglisod na sila ginhawa. For example, makigda sila pag dili elevated ang ilang unlan, or dili sila magsandig kung maglingkod, mura sila maglisod. Samot na sa mga smokers, no? And what are the consequences of being unfit? The possible consequences ay mga respiratory, breathing difficulties, and reduced in stamina. So dali ra kahangakon, lumay lakaw, mahuway, kay maglisod na ginawa, kay dili maka physically fit, diba? Next, yung musculoskeletal, stronger muscles. Isa ni sa benefit, no? If physically fit ka, you will gain stronger muscles. Next is the consequences: weak muscles and osteoporosis. Mostly problema sa mga tiguang, osteoporosis, or let's say, kalimutan ko sa isa, basta ka ng mga problema sa tiguang sa tuhod, or kanang ilang paglisod nagbarog, magpaagak na. Next is basal metabolism, the minimum amount of energy typically measured in calories that your body needs to maintain vital functions while resting. So basal metabolism, or BRM, it is influenced by age, gender, body composition, and activity level. So here's a quick breakdown. The factors are age, gender, body composition, and activity level, and these are the effects sa BMR, or basal metabolism. Sa age, decreases with age. So yung basal metabolism mag-agad pod sa imong edad. As you age, maka-decrease. So sa yung gender, higher in males due to muscle mass. So yung basal metabolism, mas taas na kung laki ka tungkol sa imong muscle mass. If I'm not mistaken, morning reason nga nang mas kusog mukhaon ng mga laki. Body composition, higher with more muscle, diba? If let's say bodybuilder ka, magbuhat ka dagkong dumbbells, it could syempre makakuan na murag mo break man ang imong muscles, and then by consuming protein mo feel sa mga break ng muscles. Diba? That was just a quick trivia. It's not really part of my report. Body composition, higher with more muscle. Then activity level increases with regular exercise. So if naka-regular exercise and you're planning to be physically fit, your basal metabolism or your BMR, there's a possibility nga mo increase na. I don't really know what's the importance of basal metabolism. I didn't have enough time to research about this one. So, for example, a young athlete has a higher BMR compared to an older woman nga sige raglingkod, or an older person nga sige raglingkod. For example, a young athlete has a higher BMR or basal metabolism compared to an older sedentary person due to their muscle mass and activity level. So, sedentary person, meaning, kaya sedentary, sige naglingkod, may gibuhat, di liman po tingon nga takulan, lahi man tagkuan, resistance, lahi tag stamina level, lahi tag stamina capacity. No? So, anhi i-compare ang isa ka athlete. So, ang athlete, kuan siya siyempre, batak siya, physically fit, and daghang muscle mass, taas yung activity level. Next, we're going to talk about the brain at midlife. The aging brain can be described in two ways: as working more slowly and as having difficulty juggling multiple tasks. As you reach middle age, let's say 40 to 65 years old, your brain changes. It works slower and struggles with juggling multiple tasks. Maybe it could affect your cognitive function. I don't know. This is because the brain processes information differently and may have difficulty switching between different activities at the same time. So these are the aspects, let's say. Processing speed, multitasking, and cognitive flexibility. As I've said, maka-affect to the uses sa imong cognitive function. At young adult brain, the processing speed is faster, and middle-aged brain, it is slower. Diba? So it was mentioned here that it works slower, struggles with juggling multiple tasks. So as you reach middle age, and multitasking at young adult brain, it is more efficient. Middle-aged brain is less efficient. Murang manigi kuan ra opposite, no? Cognitive flexibility, young adult brain high, middle-aged brain lower. So as you age, these are the changes sa imong aspect, kaning processing speed, multitasking ability, and cognitive flexibility. Think of it like this: a young brain is a race car that can speed through different tasks quickly. Diba? So, while a middle-aged brain is a reliable sedan that takes a bit more time and focus to switch between routes. Sedan, ito na siya, it's an old model car. And as it is mentioned here, a young brain is a race car than speed. So, a race car, what are the examples of race car? Let's say, Lamborghini. Pagka nakita mo ng F1 race, diba? Lamborghini, Porsche, kanang nasa F1 race, natanawang sa inyong favorite president, BBM. At sa baba, McLaren. Kabantay mo sa ilang shape. Quick trivia, kabantay mo sa shape kung anong they are considered sports or race car. Tungkol kay aerodynamic siya, gamay, nipis, ang hangin inagkuan, inagmapakusog sila, instead na sauon nilang hangin, flow through ang hangin, diba? So as the generation goes by, time goes by, magkakuan siya, magka high tech. So it becomes a young brain, while ang uban nakalimutan na design until now, mao gihapon ang design. So as the car aged, like for example Mitsubishi Strada, sa karon nga generation until now, same design, mas dako pag ni. It takes a bit more time and focus to switch between routes tungod siyang kadako and old engine. katong karaan nga estrada. Yes, man. Next thing that we're going to talk about is the structural and systemic changes. By the 5th or 6th decade, the skin may become less taut and smooth as the layer of fat below the surface becomes thinner, collagen molecules more rigid, and elastin fibers more brittle. So meaning, less taut and smooth, di na siya hugot, di na siya piot, di na siya hamis. Because the layer of fat below the surface is magkanipis, and your collagen molecules more rigid, di na siya lig-on, di na matibay para sa inyong relasyon. And elastin fibers more brittle, so it is breakable. Dali ra siya mo break, diba? In the middle adulthood, structural and systemic changes occur most visibly in the skin. As we age, the fat layer beneath the skin thins, causing it to become less taut and smooth. Para sa akong ingon ganina, di na ko ibalik ko explain, pero sige. Causing it to become less taut and smooth. Ambot kung taut by pagbasa na, taot, tuwat, ambot. Basta T-A-U-T, search lang ninyo. Meaning ra ko na kay bawo pronunciation. So, causing it to become less taut and smooth. Di na siya piot, di na siya hamis, di na siya lig-on, because your collagen molecules become more rigid and your elastin fibers more brittle, breakable. So these are the features and the effects depende sa imong edad. The features are skin firmness, and in early adulthood it is more firm and elastic, while in middle adulthood it is less firm and mas daghan siyang wrinkles, mas kulubot, di ba? Next is fat layer. While in early adulthood it is thick, in the middle adulthood it's thinner. Opposite naman di ba? Collagen molecules. In early adulthood it is more flexible, while in middle adulthood rigid. Elastin fibers elastic, so maybe ma-stretch, pwede pa ma-stretch while not breaking it apart, the muscle mass or unsa pa dana. And in middle adulthood it is more brittle ba, so meaning kuan siya sabay tawagan sensitive, dali ra mo breakable murag ako. So here are the example. Skin changes in middle adulthood. Consider Lisa, a 50-year-old woman. She notices her skin is less firm and she has more wrinkles compared to her 20s. Tungod kay thinning of the fat layer under her skin. Diba? Collagen molecules becoming more rigid. So sa age span ni Lisa, compare niya ang iyang panit sa katong 20 pa siya and karon nga 50 years old na siya. Kung kinsa man ka Lisa, yung problema ako pay gasulbad, i-explain ko direct. The elastin fibers losing elasticity, so it becomes more brittle as you age. Next and the last one, finally, sexuality and reproductive functioning. Although both sexes experience losses in reproductive capacity sometimes during middle adulthood, women become more unable to bear children and men's fertility begins to decline. Sexual enjoyment continues throughout adult life. Fun fact about men's fertility that declines. Yan na lang Marang pong spoiler dani. Example gano. These are the example changes mo ni ang mga kuan. Kuntahay so mani. Hormonal changes, menopause lead to an end in fertility. Para na sa mga bae, mo ning mga mag-menopause na as you age sa imong middle adulthood, mo na isa sa mga changes sa imong sexuality functioning or sexuality function. And symptoms like hot flashes and mood swings may occur. So, yung kuan, yung batasan, bago-bago kalit, yung mood, suko, ma-excite, lipay. dam og sudlay. So sa laki, fertility begins to decline but rarely stops completely. Kuha na siya, ang imong fertility bali hinahinay ra siya ka-decline pero di gyud siya ingon nga mo stop completely. Kita mo ng mga laki dana, mga tigulang, tas na yung mga sugar baby, bayarag 50,000 dahil dadon sa lodge. Signa na sila sa 65 years old. Mugahi pa man. Bakay mo. Next, testosterone levels may decrease affecting libido. Affecting libido and sperm count. So, unsa man yung libido? Excuse me. Giubo ko. Sa mga laki, fertility begins to decline but rarely stops completely. So, magkahinay-hinay lang siya decline, magkahinay-hinay kawala, makakuan ka weak. Pero di ko siya yung stop completely. So, as you notice, kabantay mo, yung mga tiguang anak, 65 years old, nga na sugar baby, bayarag 50,000, dahil sa lads. Mugahi pa man, huwag mo. Next, testosterone levels may decrease, affecting libido and sperm count. So, kung saan man yung libido, your sex drive, your sexual desire. I have such high level of sex drive and sexual desire. I have such huge fetish in fried chicken. And also your sperm count. So mo develop po ng erectile dysfunction. Kasi di na mo barog yung mga kuhan, penis. Di nakagawasan. Erectile dysfunctions. Gusto mo ma-prevent na pagsigira mo kape. Diba? So these there are features. Sabi. Pero tungod na yung diskuan. Pero bisan pa og naani nga changes, sexual activity remains important. Sabot sexual activity. Pero di ingon nga kanunay mo magkuan ha. Gulang na gani, paulay na, di na kaya tuhod. Some may choose to use reproductive aids to maintain their reproductive activity. Wow. Sana all makaunan na pag reproductive aids. Pero ang rayuma wa gihuna-huna. These are the features. Reproductive capacity sa women ends with menopause. Mga body, mga tigulang, mga nanay. Pagbantay mo, mga istorya sila. Hindi sila kaanak, kaya menopause na. Pero ilang bana, mga ayo pa. So, sa men, declines but persist. Sa mga laki. Gusto na mo decline, ipugos pa. Gusto pa, mamugos pa ang ilang reproductive capacity. Para sa ingon ganina nga, ang mga body, mag-menopause na ilang bana. Gusto pagyapon nila, di ka, dugdug-aa. Ba? Nyakis. And key changes. Sa mga body, hormonal shifts, menstruation, undang na. Hindi na sila dugon. Sa mga laki, testosterone decrease, sperm count drops. Diba? Bantay mo, may nga sila nga kuan, di na mabarog, di na magbasa. Wala siya. And common symptoms sa bae, hot flashes and mood swings. Mabay mo tiguang mo. Yung patasan magkasamot og kuan. Then reduced libido and erectile dysfunction sa mga laki. Para sa ganina, erectile dysfunction and reduced libido. Libido, again, this is your sexual drive, your sexual desire. And erectile dysfunction, na-explain na ako ganina, i-playback na lang. Ito, 2 times ang yung playback speed or di maglag. Sexual enjoyment continues throughout life sa mga bae. Kita mo sa katong kuan, magpakailan man ba tiguang nga niangay sa iyang amo nga laki. Kaya may sexual enjoyment continue na throughout life. Pareha sila sa laki. Nakabutang rin ganina, basa na ito balik. Although both women and men experience losses in reproductive capacity during mid-adulthood, sexual enjoyment can continue throughout life. Sabot, so pag tiguang na mo, nothing can stop sex. Diba? It's normal. Pero dapat kasal na mo. Because Paano na, bawal na sa Bible ang premarital sex. Diba? So, dapat sa imo rin kang bana. Diba? Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4. Sa tugingon, the Lord shall punish those who commit sexual immorality and adulterous behavior. Sabot. Next, reproductive aids, hormone replacement therapy or HRT, fertility treatment sa mga bae, ba? Para lang mapunan ang ilang sex drive. Testosterone supplements, pampadaghan ng testosterone. Kay anak butang are sa key changes, testosterone will decrease sa mga laki. And sperm count also drops. Testosterone supplements, erectile dysfunction treatments. So, I don't know what are the treatments for erectile dysfunction. Kaya ang gingon ganina, prevent. Naman, di ba? Prevent, magkape is to prevent erectile dysfunction. But, let me, I have erectile dysfunction scare. I don't want to experience that one because my sex drive or my libido is highly dangerous, kumbaga. Next is we're going to differentiate or we're going to discuss about the difference of fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence. So what is fluid intelligence? It is the ability to solve novel problems on the fly. Sa example na. Example, learning new language, solving puzzles. Yan na. Ba, like, or complicated concept for the first time. One example. Next is what is crystallized intelligence? By contrast, it is the ability to remember and use information acquired over a lifetime, such as finding a synonym for a word or solving a math problem. It is fixed as is the structure of ice. One of the examples, navigating a familiar route. By you're navigating a familiar route, or using a calculator and figure out how to use the learned formulas, or taking exams. You're acquiring your learned knowledge about it. So mga isang example sa crystallized intelligence, and that would be my final topic. For this in this video. So I hope you enjoyed and learned a lot about it, even though I'm just talking nonsense here. I don't really know what I'm doing. Joke. I was just bluffing. Teka lang. Okay. So pleasant morning, and may you all have a pleasant morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. Kung sa mga orasan nyo yung natanawan. But I am filming this at 10:40 p.m. Bye and thank you.
Filial crisis. So these happen when adults must take care of their aging parents. It's basically trying to balance their own lives while supporting their parents. It's tough emotionally because roles are reversed. The child becomes the caregiver for some, and according to research, almost 1 in 5 adults, approximately 42 million people, acts as a caregiver for an aging parent. So also, research have shown sad nga mostly women take this lead because they have this caring in nature daw. So an example for this is a man in his 40s takes his mom to her medical checkup while still working full-time. It shows nga nag-balance gyapon siya silang own life while still supporting his parents. So next, we have the sandwich generation. So it refers to adults caring for both their children and aging parents at the same time. So ganiha about his own life, but karon specifically sa iyang children and the parents at the same time. Though it must be very stressful, no? Especially for women who often take the lead in caregiving. So they might feel caught in the middle jud. So an example for this is a mother supports her teenage son with school while also helping her elderly dad with daily tasks. And that's a perfect example for sandwich generation. And next we have the caregiver burnout. From the word itself, caregiver burnout, it is when a person feels tired, stressed, and emotionally drained from taking care of someone for a long time. Of course, these people would often forget to take care of themselves because they've been too focused of taking care for someone. And this might also lead to health problems or even depression. And a perfect example for this is a daughter taking care of her sick father every day start feeling depressed and tired but doesn't ask for help. Of course, it's hard to take care with someone that is sick because we're just human naman tanan, no? So we can feel kapoy ra sad. And after a long time of taking care, of course we would feel burnout. So that's just basically the caregiver burnout. And then lastly, we have the kinship care. It's basically when a grandparents or relatives take care or raise a child because the parents are unable to. So an example for this is kanang mga OFW parents gani nga ibilin nila sa ilang relatives or sa ilang sa ilang mama para i-raise ang child kay they are unable to kasi since naaman sila sa gawas, so ibilin nila sa ilang mga mama or sa ilang lola or even relatives sad. So of course this keeps the child in the family, which is good, but it can be hard financially and emotionally for the caregivers daw. So another example for this is kanang when two grandparents raise their grandson after the child's parents go to rehab. It's rewarding but also exhausting. So it's basically taking letting your relatives or grandparents take care of your child because you're unable to or you cannot take care of your child. And that sums up my discussion. Thank you. So good day everyone, I'm Dan Paula Manggubat and I'll be explaining how our relationship work and change as we go through life. So there are two theories that explain this, which are the social convoy theory, social emotional selectivity theory. So first off, we have the social convoy theory. This theory goes that we move through life surrounded by a group of people, and this group of people is our social convoy, which is our family, close friend, could be your colleagues or co-workers. So these people, it gives us support in different ways. So it also depends on the degree of closeness on which we can rely for assistance, emotional support, and care, and also whom in turn can offer these things back. So as we grow older now, this group changes. So in young adulthood, our social circle is usually big, but as we grow older, our group tends to get smaller, mostly because we focus more on our closest relationship like family or longtime friends. So also culture plays a role in this. So depending on which culture you're in, if you're in an individualistic culture, of course like in the US, people usually have more friends and those friends give emotional and social support for them. And if you're in a collectivist culture like in the Philippines, people rely more on family for support and belonging. So that's on the social convoy theory. And as for the social emotional selectivity theory, this theory goes that we focuses on why we choose certain people to stay close to. So our social needs change depending on our age now. So when we're young, we care about meeting new people, learning new things, and figuring out who we are. But as we grow older, we start to focus more on the meaningful and emotionally satisfying relationship with people that makes us feel supported and loved. So this theory goes that as we age, we have this knowledge that time is limited. So then we start to choose relationship that matter most to us, or that can give us emotional support, or like a way that it is satisfying for us. So according to this theory said, social interaction help us in three main ways. So we have the information, which is we learn from others; self-identity, we figure out who we are through relationship; emotional well-being, we feel loved and supported. As you can see, the dynamic of how we constantly evolve in wanting something for in a relationship with people, like from information, just like learning from others, and then as we move, self-identity, like we figure out who we are through our relationship, and then seeking emotional well-being, like we seek a relationship that makes us feel loved and supported. See the dynamic of how we constantly want some emotional connection with people. So what is actually the difference between these two theories? So in the convoy theory, it's about the structure of our social life, like who travels through life with us, like it focuses on how our network changes over time. While in the selectivity theory, it's about the motivation, why we choose certain people to stay close to. It's about personal choice and emotional needs. So next, we have the example. So in social convoy theory, as you can see in the example, in 25, Sarah has a lot of friends, but as she grows older, it mainly talks to family and few close friends, which reflects the social convoy theory that says our social network shrinks over time and focuses more on people who give strong support. It also shows how cultural differences. If Sarah lived in a collectivist country like Japan, her convoy would likely have been mostly family the whole time. And that is a perfect example of social convoy theory. In social emotional selectivity theory, it shows how our goals for relationship change with age. So at 20, he wants to meet new people and learn, but that's normal for young adults who are building their identity, of course. But at 60, he prefers close relationship that makes him feel secure and loved. That fits the theory well, because it's not just about how many people you know, but why you choose to keep some close, why you choose those people to keep close to you. So it values deep and emotional connection over having a big group. So next, I'll be explaining the 7 concepts. So first, we have the marital capital. So it basically refers to the value that a couple accumulate over time in a marriage. Things like joint finances, like their savings, emotional bond from the shared experience, and established social support such as mutual friends and extended family. So the main idea here in the marital capital is that the longer a couple is married, the more marital capital they accumulate, which makes them less likely to divorce because they have more to lose both financially and emotionally if the relationship ends. So a perfect example for this is a couple married for 20 years, owns a house, shares retirement saving, and has raised a children together. So you can see what is a marital capital, right? It's basically the value that a couple can accumulate over time in a marriage. So it's not just about the savings, but also the shared experience and the emotional bonds and the established social support that they have. So next is the emptiness. So it refers to when a child have grown and moved out from their parents' home. And many people think that the parents would feel very lonely if their child leave home, but research have shown that they feel more happier and less stressed, because with this they have more time, and especially if their marriage is struggling, these could save their marriage, because with this they have more time for dates and for themselves. And also parents may feel very happy if their children lives at the right time when they are successful. But in some cultures like in Asia or Latin America, kids stay home until marriage. So leaving early can make parents feel sad or like family ties are weakening. So an example for this is a mom whose youngest daughter just left for college might start going to yoga, reconnect with friends, and go on trips with her husband. As you can see na ay time na ang so she may feel proud and free, especially if her daughter is doing well in school and calls often. So it's basically kanang children moving out from their parents' house. So next, we have the revolving door syndrome, or sometimes called the boomerang phenomenon. So it refers to when an adult child leaves home and then later come back. It's more common today, and research have shown that men are most likely to come back home than women after experiencing some job loss or financial struggles or even breakups. And also, cultural norms affects experience. So what do I mean about this? So in culture where it's normal for kids to live with parents, this doesn't cause too much stress. Just like here in the Philippines, it's just seen as part of a family life. But when you're in a culture like US, of course, in their culture, in 18 years old, you should stand on your own and you should live your life. So if the children come back home, this would cause a lot of too much stress for the parents. So an example for this is a 28-year-old woman moves back home after losing her job. So her parents might feel frustrated at first but later enjoy having her around. So it's basically moving out and then coming back. More original revolving door syndrome. So next we have
Pleasant morning, afternoon, or evening. I am Crisol Jane Polvera, and I'm going to discuss about the Seattle's longitudinal study of adult intelligence. So the Seattle Longitudinal Study, or SLS, is a groundbreaking research project on adult intelligence initiated in 1956 by K. Warner Shai. It is considered one of the most extensive and longest-running investigation into how cognitive abilities change throughout adulthood. So this study began in 1956 by K. Warner Shai with 500 randomly men and women ages of 22 to 67 years old and collected data over 5 years, and participants were followed longitudinal assessed every 7 years on timed tests of 6 primary mental abilities. And in this table, we have a test, ability measured, task, and type of intelligence. So the first test is verbal meaning. Ability measured is recognition and understanding of words. And the task is find a synonym by matching the stimulus word with another word form of multiple choice list. So for example, the stimulus word is big, and in multiple choice you have letter A is small, B is large, C is tiny, and D is short. And you're going to match the stimulus word, which is big, and the answer is letter B, the large. So type of intelligence, this is crystallized. And next test is word fluency. So the ability measured is by retrieving words from long-term memory. So the task is think of as many words as possible beginning with a given letter. For example, the given letter is letter S. So many words are activated in the mind. Like for example, sad, safe, sail, salt, sand, save, say, scene, science, school, etc. And this type of intelligence is part of crystallized and part of fluid. And next test is number. The ability measured is performing computations. So the task is do simple addition problems like 5 plus 2, 3 plus 8, 7 plus 1, 9 plus 2. Oh, and this part of intelligence is crystallized. So, next is spatial orientation. So, the ability measured is manipulating objects mentally in two-dimensional space. And the task is select rotated examples of figure to match the stimulus figure. So, uh, for example, uh, for example, if this is like the number of 6 and 9 nga pwede nimo siya ma-rotate ang 6 nga mahimo siyang 9 and ang 9 pwede siya mahimong 6. Pwede po ang yen o ang yang. And this type of intelligence is fluid. And next is inductive reasoning. So the ability measured is to identifying patterns and interpreting principles and rules for solving logical problems. So the task is complete a letter series. For example, A, C, E, G, and I, and so on. So, and this type of intelligence is fluid. And the last is perceptual speed. So, the ability measured is to making quick, accurate discrimination between visual stimuli. So, the task is identifying matching and non-matching image flash on a screen. For example, I'm going to flash on the screen a red apple, and then in 200 milliseconds there's a red apple on the screen, and then the next slide is a blank within 100 milliseconds, and next slide is the same a red apple, and you're go and then both were like remove and then disappear, and then there were a question next like were the two image the same. So imo siyang i-match kung same ba sila, and this type of intelligence is fluid. And this test is like virtually no one declined on all fronts, and most people improve in some areas. So the shuttle's longitudinal study continues to provide valuable insights into the complexities of cognitive aging, challenging earlier assumptions and contributing significantly to our understanding of how intellectual abilities change and remain stable across the adult lifespan. Its findings have implications for various fields, including education, gerontology, and public policy related to aging. And that's all. Thank you. So, a pleasant morning, afternoon, and or evening again. I am Crisol Jane Polvera, and I'm going to discuss about the distinctiveness of adult cognition. So, there are 4 distinctiveness qualities in the thinking of mature adults, which is the expertise, encapsulation, integrative thought, and creativity. So, first is the expertise. So, this expertise involves recognizing the interplay of gains, losses, and stability in various cognitive domains as individuals age, as well as the factors that influence these trajectories. So, for example, a doctor. So, the doctor's knowledge continues to expand throughout their career. Years of experience in diagnosing and treating patients contribute to heavily expertise. So, for example, nagpa-chest x-ray examine ka. So, sometimes gitan-aw sa kanang doctor ang kining yung imuhang x-ray is nananaslay ka ng masud silang huna-huna kung unsay sakit nga naa ka, kung naaba kay ka ng tumor or anything nga kanang makita nila sa imuhang chest x-ray without sa result pa. And expertise is a form of crystallized intelligence that is related to the process of encapsulations. And next is encapsulations. So middle-aged individuals may take longer to process new information than younger individuals. So for example, social media. So using social media, ang mga adolescents, mga bata karon is kanang kamao jud sila mo gamit og kining social media, hasa kaayo mag-edit ngon ana. But when it comes sa middle age, kining basta mga new information and like kanang sa social media is maglisod sila og kining gamit ana because bag-o man na sa kaning like modern na bitaw siya, and then wala pa kayo mga experience ang mga middle age ana. So ang ilahang process sa mga new things is slower na bitaw, slower na. But when it comes sa solving problems within their field of expertise, their encapsulated knowledge compensates and allows them to rapidly and effectively solve a problem. So that was according to Hoyer and Rybash 1994. So for example, katong doctor nga kining more than like 10 years na siya or 20 years as a doctor. So when it comes sa kaning sakit like katong sa chest x-ray examine mo is kining makahibaw na sila kung unsa dayon ang sakit nga naa ka sa kaning katong sa test is because expert man sila ana nga field. And next is the integrative thought. So mature adults interpret what they read, see, or hear in terms of its meaning for them. So instead of accepting something at face value, they filter it through their life experience and previous learning. It is a mature adults who translate their knowledge about the human condition into inspirational stories to which a younger generation can turn for guidance. So, for example, nagtanaw mo og salida. So, ang mga adolescents jud is kanang more on sa linya sila mag-base ang ilahang kanang kung unsay giingon on ato nga character is kanang mo na musud sa ilahang huna ang kanang line sa kanang sentence. But when it comes sa middle-aged people, ang sa story kay kanang murag through kanang murag ilahang more on kanang experience bitaw ang ilahang pag-translate sa kanang sa salida nga gitan-aw like more on like naay mga deep meaning bitaw because of their experiences in life. And that's for integrative thought. And next is the creativity. So creativity in adulthood changes as we age. Younger adults might be quicker at new, imaginative ideas, but as we get older, our creativity often becomes based on our experience and what we already know. We get better at solving problems in our areas of expertise and connecting our knowledge in new ways. It might take us longer to process brand new things, but our deep understanding help us to be creative and find smart solutions. So, when it comes sa creativity, so, ang mga younger is kanang dali ra sila may mga younger adults kay kanang mas dali sila makakanang come up og mga new ideas, mga imaginative ideas, pero ang mga middle-aged people kay more on, ang ilahang mga ideas is nag-base sa ilahang experience like kanang dali ra sila makasolve og problem kung kanang na-experience na nila ang katunga panghitabuan. So in conclusion, the distinctiveness of adult cognition is more on experience jud ang sa ilaha. And that's all. Thank you. So, a pleasant morning, afternoon, or evening again. And again, I am Crisol Jane Polvera, and I'm going to discuss about the narrative psychology and identity process theory. So, narrative psychology views the development of the self as a continuous process of constructing one's life story, a dramatic narrative to help make sense of one's life and connect the past and present with the future, according to Mac Adams 2006. And some narrative psychologists view identity itself as this internalized script or story. People follow the script they have created as they act out their identity, according to Mac Adams et al. 1997. And highly generative adults tend to construct generative scripts. So, these studies, narrative psychology, are based on a standardized 2-hour life story interview. So the participants is asked to think of his or her life as a book, to divide the book into chapters, and to recall 8 key scenes, each of which includes a turning point. So research using this technique has found that people's scripts tend to reflect their personalities. So sometimes is, even ako is like, when kanang murag wala na kanang medyo gubot na bitaw ang kining mga nahitabo sa ko ang kinabuhi, is like ang akong ginabuhat usahay is mura siya, akong huna-hunaon is kanang ang akong kinabuhi is like a book or a movie nga kanang naay turning points and kanang makabawi ra pud ka sa life niya. Kining like ako ang i-visualize is ako ang kaugalingon nga kanang as a main character is kanang unsay gusto nako sa ako ang life. And that's the example of narrative psychology. And also, there are characteristics of ego-resilience adults, as you can see in the table, the most characteristics and most characteristics. So we have 13 rows, and like sa most characteristics is na is genuinely dependable and responsible, and most uncharacteristics is emotionally bland, like napoy has warmed capacity for close relationships, and most uncharacteristics is self-defeating, has social poise and presence, and most uncharacteristics is uncomfortable with uncertainty and complexity, and there's more. And next is the identity process theory. So according to the identity process theory, or IPT, with born 1996, physical characteristics, cognitive abilities, and personality traits are incorporated into identity schemas. So identity schemas are essentially the ideas you have about yourself. And according to Piaget, and there are two processes of identity development on Piaget: the assimilation and accommodation. So assimilation is the interpret of new information via existing cognitive structures, and the accommodation is involves changing cognitive structures to more closely align with what is encountered. So the kining ang assimilation involves holding onto consistent sense of self in the face of new experiences that do not fit the current understanding on the self. And identity accommodation is involves adjusting the identity schema to fit new experiences. And overuse of either assimilation or accommodation is unhealthy. So people who constantly assimilate may seek to maintain a youthful self-image and ignore what is going on in their body. And people who constantly accommodate are weak and highly vulnerable to criticism. And also we have the identity balance. So people who achieve identity balance recognize changes and respond flexibility. They seek to control what can be controlled and accept what cannot. And that's all for narrative psychology and identity process theory. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. We're done with the cognitive perspective, so let's proceed to the psychosocial perspective. Today, I will be discussing the three theoretical models of change at midlife, and there are three. These are the normative stage model, the trait model, and the timing of event model. So first, let's discuss about the normative stage model. So the normative stage model views development as a lifelong process influenced by genetics, environment, and personal experiences. Example includes Erickson's psychosocial stages, influenced by parenting and temperament, Piaget and cognitive stages, affected by experience and genetics, and Kohlberg's moral stages, shaped by culture and personal event. This model highlights the interaction of nature and nurture in shaping development across the lifespan. So now let's proceed to the second model, the timing of event model. This suggests that experiencing in life events according to societal expectation, the social clock, generally leads to smoother transition and greater social acceptance. Conversely, experiencing these events of time, either earlier or later than expected, can lead to greater stress and challenges in navigating social expectation. And some example of this is the marriage and parenthood. Societal norm often place marriage and having children in a specific time frame. For example, nagbuntis ka late than 20s to early 30s. Marrying and having children significantly earlier or later than this can lead to societal judgment, increased stress, financial, social, and etc. and challenges in balancing family life with careers aspirations. Second is the career advancement, reaching certain career milestones. Promotion leadership roles is typically aligned with specific age ranges. Failing to meet this expectation within the typical time frame can lead to feelings of inadequacy, pressure to catch up, and potential career stagnation. Conversely, rapid advancement might also cause stress related to the increased responsibilities and pressure. And another example is education. Completing education, high school, college, postgraduate studies within a typical term frame often facilitates smoother transition to the workforce and reduces potential career gaps. And kanang if kanang madili ka og eskwela or kanang typical education path can create challenges in finding employment and adapting to the professional world. Ay kung nakatrabaho ka o ay naka-eskwela ka og sakto sa imong kanang edad, mas dili ka makapangita og trabaho if kanang murag delay na murag lisod na siya. So this katuang getting example is illustrate how the timing of event model emphasizes the impact of social expectation on individual experiences. Meeting this expectation often leads to smoother transition, while deviating from the other can result in various stressors and challenges. Important to note that the social clock varies across culture and societies. Let's proceed to the last model, the trait model of personality. This uses various frameworks to identify and measure stable individual characteristic or traits that influence behavior, thoughts, and emotion. Different model poses varying numbers of core traits. Here are some of the examples to illustrate this concept. The Big Five Ocean Model. This widely used model identifies five broad personality traits. Oceans stand for O for openness, C for con- consciousness, E for controversion, A for agreeableness, and N for neuroticism. So, openness is imaginative versus practical, interested in variety versus routine, and independent versus conforming. And the conscientiousness is the organized versus disorganized, careful versus careless, disciplined versus impulsive. And the extraversion is outgoing versus solitary, sociable versus reserved, assertive versus passive. And the agreeableness is friendly versus cold, cooperative versus competitive, and trusting versus suspicious. And last is neuroticism, calm versus anxious, even tempered versus moody, secure versus insecure. Someone as conscientiousness might be a highly organized and efficient worker, while someone low in this trait might be more creative but less structured. Someone high in extroversion might thrive in social settings, whereas someone low in extroversion might prefer solitary activities. Other trait models Other models like the hexacle model include additional traits like honesty, humility, offering a more nuanced understanding of personality. This example illustrates how the trait model uses specific traits to predict and explain individual differences in behavior, thought processes, and emotional responses. These traits are considered relatively stable over time, although they can be influenced by life experiences. So, in conclusion, the tree model of change at midlife is when you say normative stages, it highlights predictable transition, while the timing of event model emphasizes the impact of life event timing relative to societal expectation. And lastly, the trade model focuses on personality's enduring influence. Understanding midlife requires considering this interplay of biological, social, and personal factors. So that's all to my part, and thank you.
Change in middle adulthood. Physical change at midlife usually ages 40 to 65. Here are some physical changes physical may notice during this stage. Wrinkles and gray hair, skin start losing elasticity, and hair might turn gray or thin up. Weight gain metabolism slows down, so it's easier to gain weight at even the same eating habits. Vision changes. Difficulty seeing the things are called presbyopia. It's common many people start losing reading glasses. Hearing loss. Some people may notice that they can't hear high pitched sound as sweet as before. Lower energy level. Feeling tired more easily needing more rest became more common. Muscles and bone change. Muscle mass decrease and bone can become less dense, especially in women. Menopause for women. Periods stop usually around ages 50. Often on symptoms like hot flashes and mood change. Sexual change. Both men and women might notice during in libido or sexual performance. What is a midlife crisis and is it real? Definition. A midlife crisis is a period of emotional or identity struggles that some people experience, typical between ages 40 and 50. People may question their life choices, achievement, and purposes. Common signs. Sudden desire for major life changes like quitting a job or buying a sports car. Feeling stuck, bored, or dissatisfied. Increased focus on appearance or aging. Regret over missed opportunities. Emotional ups and downs or anxiety about the future. Is it real? Yes and no. Yes and no. Some people do through this, but not everyone. It's more about physiological adjustment than true crisis. Research shows it's not a common as once believed. Many people handled midlife well. Life events like divorce, illness, or career shift may trigger crisis more than age itself.